Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at some incredible battles featuring a former rank 1 in the world battler cooking the Remix Cup meta with a Shadow Mewtwo. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Boom20, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, Shadow Mewtwo is never a Pokemon that should be used if you're looking to gain Elo. It is far too frail. However, Boom20, being a former rank 1 in the world battler, is skilled enough that he was actually able to go positive with Shadow Mewtwo close to veteran rank. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. And we've got an amazing lead for Boom in the first match, leading Empoleon vs Shadow Alolan Ninetales. Poliwrath save switch is going to be answered with Defense Deoxys. Defense Deoxys going to be hit with the charge attack from the Poliwrath. Now you might be wondering, why can't you send in Shadow Mewtwo into the Poliwrath? Mewtwo would be able to outpace. And that's because Shadow Mewtwo is so glassy that it would actually get countered down by the Poliwrath. This thing cannot take a hit whatsoever. We're going to see Deoxys fire off back-to-back Psycho Boost, grabbing both shields from the opponent. And oh boy, opponent giving up 2 shields, and there's a Shadow Mewtwo in the back. I don't think this is going to go well for the opponent, my goodness. In comes the Shadow Mewtwo. Look at the counter damage on this Shadow Mewtwo. Oh my goodness, it is getting absolutely torn to shreds. Icy Wind is going to be shielded. In comes the aggressive switch to the Ninetales, and that's going to cost them as Empoleon gets a massive farm down. Opponent sends out the Poliwrath. Poliwrath now going to be hit with the Drill Peck. Drill Peck going to be able to pick up the knockout. What is that final Pokemon in the back? And it's Jellicent. And this game is over because this Shadow Mewtwo is running Thunderbolts. Empoleon goes for the Drill Peck. This damage does not matter. He's just going to stop tapping. He wants to win the game with the Mewtwo. He's pretending to lag. Opponent thinks they're about to win, but they absolutely are not. Shadow Mewtwo commits the shield on the serve. Now going for the Thunderbolt on charge attack priority. Oh my goodness, get that Jellicent out of here. Shout out Jamie Finn, and Boom is able to take the win. We move to the next match, Empoleon vs Dubwool, not a great lead. The save switch to the Defense Deoxys. Defense Deoxys will be answered with Carbink. Carbink, honestly, a pretty nice Pokemon to bait out here, because Carbink is so monstrously bulky that it's one of the few things that could actually neutrally survive a Psystrike. Carbink is going to be firing off energy. Deoxys is going to no-shield as Carbink connects with the Moonblast. And the Moonblast gets the attack drop. That's only a 10% chance. That's extremely unfortunate luck. And Boom makes the intentional choice to not throw any of his energy. Instead, he wants farm on Empoleon. Empoleon going to survive the Moonblast, get the farm down, and now Empoleon can threaten the Dubwool with Hydro Cannon. Going to fire off the Hydro Cannon. Dubwool commits the shield, aggressive switch to the Shadow Mewtwo. In the back is Chestnut. Oh no, this opponent is about to have a terrible day. Shadow Mewtwo Psystrike is shielded, and the opponent now in a 2-0 shield deficit. It is absolutely doomed for them. Shadow Mewtwo farming up, going for the Psystrike, winning charge attack priority over the Chestnut. Bye-bye Chestnut. It's just going to be the Dubwool left in the back. Mewtwo committing the final shield. Psystrike, it's going to do a massive amount of damage. I don't think it's quite going to be enough to one-shot here, but this is a Shadow Mewtwo, so we're going to have to see. Mewtwo going for the Psystrike. That nearly picks up the one-hit KO. Shadow Mewtwo inflicting massive damage and able to take the win. Neutral enough lead in the next match, Empoleon versus Mantine. Mantine can put up a surprising fight in this matchup, despite the fact that all of its moves are resisted. Mantine is running Water Pulse, and that's the move that does cause Empoleon some worry here, because Water Pulse does have better damage per energy than Aerial Ace. Empoleon returns fire with the Drill Peck. That's going to do some nice damage. Empoleon playing 2 charge attack priority and winning it as well. The Drill Peck will connect, getting Mantine deep into the red. Mantine, I believe, is able to win the zeros here with double Water Pulse. The Water Pulse is going to connect. We see the save switch to Defense Deoxys. That's an extremely unfortunate simultaneous switch. Deoxys versus the Shadow Gligar. At the very least, Deoxys does have a Rock Slide, so Deoxys does have a way of hitting for neutral damage without debuffing itself just yet, since it is switch locked. Deoxys will fire off the Rock Slide. Rock Slide is going to be shielded up by the Gligar, and Deoxys going to overfarm quite a bit more energy. Dig should not be enough to knock out here, so the Dig will be survivable, and Deoxys is now going to fire off the back-to-back Psycho Boosts. Psycho Boost number 1, Gligar is going to commit the shield, and the opponent has given up their final shield. Hopefully, that means that Shadow Mewtwo can put in work. In comes Shadow Mewtwo. Mewtwo going to get outpaced here as Gligar did have residual energy. Mewtwo commits the shield. It's the Aerial Ace from the Gligar. Mewtwo farming up, going for the Side Strike, but the opponent makes a switch and a catch onto Steelix. That Side Strike still does massive damage, but here's unfortunately where you really do not want Thunderbolt and you want Flamethrower as the coverage move. The Side Strike gets Steelix deep into the red, but Mewtwo unfortunately not able to pick up the knockout. Breaking Swipe from Steelix is undercharged. The opponent actually letting the Mewtwo get as low as possible there. Able to save a Side Strike though and switch out. Maybe there's a chance. Gligar has energy. Mewtwo does have the Side Strike loaded and wins Charge Attack priority here, sending in the Empoleon. Empoleon is now going to get knocked out with the Dig from the Gligar. Mewtwo going for the Side Strike. This will be able to pick up the knockout onto the Gligar, but there's still the Mantine left in the back. The Mantine is low. Just how low is it? Not low enough. The opponent tried to get a little fancy there by not attacking, and that almost led to them losing the game. Terrible lead in Empoleon versus Poliwrath. The safe switch to the defense Deoxys. Poliwrath banks 6 counters, sends out Ferrothorn. Now, sending in a Steel type to a counter user might seem like an unusual play, but Ferrothorn is a complete wall to the charge attacks from Deoxys. So this is actually a good switch by the opponent, because the Deoxys has a massive amount of energy, but the energy is basically useless here. Deoxys, even after 4 more counters and a Rock Slide, this will not KO. Ferrothorn is able to survive this damage and win the Zero Shield. So Ferrothorn, even down that much energy, still able to hang on. Deoxys just going to let it go, probably going for a Mewtwo farm, and there it is. Mewtwo, a 4 Psycho Cut head start, and took almost no damage to do so. It's a regular Gligar in the back. Regular Gligar is nice because that means the wing attacks are going to be doing less to the Shadow Mewtwo, and Shadow Mewtwo cannot take a hit whatsoever. Mewtwo is going to commit the shield as Gligar fires off the Aerial Ace. Shadow Mewtwo is looking to massively overfarm, trying for the CMP type, but the opponent not going to fall for it this time. Side Strike is shielded, opponent going all shields down, and they play to a CMP tie that they do not win. Shadow Mewtwo gets the Side Strike, so close to knocking out, but can't quite do so. Gligar able to secure the knockout, and it's all up to Empoleon. Poliwrath not even building up to the Dynamic Punch, they're just going straight Icy Wind. But they're not running it. They opted for Ice Punch for faster pacing. It's something I've seen a couple times in the meta. You get faster pacing, but you don't get debuffs, and that's actually going to cost the opponent this game. The Drill Peck does too much damage. Empoleon shields. There's the Dynamic Punch from the Poliwrath, but it's too little too late as Poliwrath and Gligar both get farmed down by Empoleon. We've got mirror leads in the next match, Empoleon versus Empoleon. Anytime I see an opposing Empoleon lead, I'm always thinking that there's dragons in the back. Something like Goodra, and then maybe like Dragonite or Giratina. Honestly, anything with fast move pressure is a big problem for the Shadow Mewtwo. So, for his sake, let's hope there are not Dragon types back there. Hydro Cannons are exchanged, opponent is going to save switch into Goodra, uh-oh. This is not looking good, going to go for the Drill Peck is going to connect. Empoleon looking to bank some energy, getting close to another Drill Peck and sending out the Deoxys. Barring a surprise nuke move of Draco Meteor, Goodra's energy is not threatening to Deoxys whatsoever, and it is just going to be the Aqua Tail. So Deoxys is going to look to go for a massive farm down, exit with a ton of energy, and this energy can potentially put in work. Opponent is going to get farmed all the way down in the back. Oh, that is not a Giratina, but that is bad news for the Mewtwo. That's a Cofagrigus in the back, able to make the Rock Slide, followed by the Psycho Boost. The Psycho Boost, Cofagrigus lets it go as well. They're saving 2 shields, and it's going to win them the game. Empoleon makes the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon can force the shield, but the Shadow Mewtwo is going to get torn to shreds by the Shadow Claws. Oh my goodness, look at the Shadow Claws go. Mewtwo committing the shield as Cofagrigus goes for the Dark Pulse. Mewtwo has to try and farm down here, hoping against hope, but the Empoleon should just be one off a move, so they can switch in the Empoleon, get the combo play, and unfortunately Shadow Mewtwo is getting KO'd. Hopping into the next match, Empoleon versus Shadow Quagsire. This matchup is fine for Empoleon because most Quagsires are not running Mud Bomb in this meta. I do like the switch out into Deoxys though. With 2 Psychic types in the bag, you need to check and see, do they have a response? Quag is going to stay in and go for the Aqua Tail. Opponent tried to go for a potential Psycho Boost catch as they send out Mantine. Sending out Mantine into Deoxys is absolutely wild because Deoxys can run Thunderbolt. Of course, this one is not. It's on Rock Slide, but that is a bold attempted catch from the opponent. The opponent probably would have been in a better spot if they just stayed in with the Quagsire, and then they could have forced Deoxys to debuff itself with a Psycho Boost, and then brought in Mantine in a lot safer of a position. Deoxys just going to let this through. Aerial Ace will be able to pick up the knockout. Back in comes the Empoleon. And Empoleon, as we've established, is a complete wall to energy here. So Empoleon can look to double up. Drill Peck to knock out the Mantine, and to have a Hydro Cannon available for Quag. Opponent ended up Ice Beaming there. Ice Beam is double resisted. I can't imagine that's going to be more damage than an Aerial Ace. Are they going to send out the Quagsire? Yes, they are. Again, most Quags are not running Mud Bomb, so pretty safe no-shield for the Empoleon. Empoleon is going to fire off the Hydro Cannon, hoping that the opponent decides to shield. They do not. In comes Shadow Mewtwo. In the back, it's a Shadow Gligar. We saw before, regular Gligar can tank a Shadow Psystrike. Let's see about this Shadow. They're going to commit the shield on the CMP tie. But this is honestly looking dire for the opponent. The Aerial Ace will be shielded. Shadow Mewtwo farming up substantially. Again, playing to the CMP tie. Shadow Mewtwo, the king of CMPs. Psystrike picks up the KO. Goodbye to that Gligar. In comes the Quagsire. Mewtwo going to commit the shield on the Aqua Tail. Mewtwo gets the Psycho Cut down and takes the win. Empoleon is greeted with a familiar lead in the next match. Empoleon versus Mantine. Last Mantine lead, unfortunately, got pretty close towards the end, but was not able to pull out the win. Here, the opponent switches out instantly, which is a massive surprise as they send out Dragonair. Dragonair does not have a good matchup into Empoleon, especially being down a turn, so that switch honestly surprises me quite a bit, because Mantine into Empoleon is fine. Dragonair will go for the Aqua Tail. Empoleon does not care, and again, being up that one turn is so valuable, because the opponent cannot make a second move before Empoleon makes a second Drill Peck and just gets rid of Dragonair and gets rid of a shield. Are we going to see the Mantine? No. In comes the Quagsire, and immediate switch into Defense Deoxys, just making sure to not let the opponent get an energy head start. A Quagsire will go for the Aqua Tail. Deoxys continues to farm, expecting a potential switch out from the opponent. Aqua Tail will connect, farming up a ton of energy, and right on cue, there's the switch to the Mantine. Deoxys still at full attack, thanks to not throwing a Psycho Boost just yet, is going to be able to land the Rock Slide. Mantine will be able to pick up the knockout with the Aerial Ace, but now it's Shadow Mewtwo time. In comes the Shadow Mewtwo, has Thunderbolt, but will not need it here. This is Psystrike range. Shadow Mewtwo firing off the Psystrike. Psystrike knocks out the Mantine. In comes the Quagsire. Quagsire realizes down a shield. It is not winning this match, and the opponent will resign. We move to the next match. Terrible lead. Empoleon versus Shadow Magnezone. The save switch to Defense Deoxys. Opponent is going to respond with a Tropius. Oh boy, the opponent is running some seriously toxic stuff here. There's a Razor Leafer on our screen. Rock Slide will connect. That does substantial damage to the Tropius. Deoxys going for Rock Slide number 2. The opponent staying in as long as they did and giving Deoxys' energy head start is not going to be doing them a whole lot of favors. As Deoxys is able to force a shield advantage, Deoxys can even make a Psycho Boost here, and Deoxys is going to go for the last second Psycho Boost, but I love this undercharge. This is to set up farm for the Empoleon, but the opponent gave up the final shield. The cardinal sin against the Shadow Mewtwo team. Granted, they haven't seen the Mewtwo yet, but they're going to very soon. Empoleon will commit the shield. Magnezone baits with the Mirror Shot, but Empoleon can just make the Hydro Cannon. This is just going to knock out this Magnezone, and the question will be, what is that final Pokemon? Oh, we don't see it quite yet. They're going to send out the Tropius. Tropius is going to get farmed down by a bunch of Steel Wings. Here's the Shadow Mewtwo, and it's a Charm Alolan Ninetales in the back. Shadow Mewtwo says goodnight with the Psystrike, and down goes the Toxic team. Hopping into the final match, and the video ends right where it started, leading Empoleon into its best meta matchup, Shadow Alolan Ninetales. Opponent will instantly switch out of here into Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn, not the most comfortable Pokemon for this team to see, so we're going to see a counter switch into Defense Deoxys. Deoxys, of course, its charge moves are completely walled here. Ferrothorn now going to be hit with the Rock Slide, but Ferrothorn is never shielding in this matchup. Rock Slide not threatening whatsoever, so the opponent is able to shake off that damage. However, the nice thing here is that a Power Whip from the Ferrothorn also will not knock out. The Deoxys was at full HP, so while that does substantial damage, it's not enough to KO. Deoxys firing off the Psycho Boost is going to be able to pick up the knockout. If they send out the Ninetales, then the Deoxys is going to be able to hang on and make it to another Psycho Boost. This is 2 stages debuffed. Opponent was never going to shield this. In comes the Empoleon, and we've got a Spice battle on our hands. Oh my goodness. Salazzle versus Shadow Mewtwo. This Salazzle could prove to be a massive problem. Mewtwo going to go for the Psy Strike. If you do 2 in the move there, the Incinerate damage might register, so doing 1 in the move is going to be safe. In comes the Empoleon. Empoleon now has a tough choice to make. Calling it, it's the Poison Fang bait. That is a massive call. Empoleon is going to get the full farm down. In comes the Ninetales. Ninetales has to hope that 2 charms will be enough to knock out. Can Empoleon survive? Yes, it can. Empoleon, refusing to get KO'd by the Ninetales, secures the victory thanks to Hydro Cannon. All in all, these were some incredibly fun battles, so big thank you to Boom20 for sending in the footage. As I mentioned at the start, this team, or more specifically Shadow Mewtwo, is not something that I would recommend you trying if you're looking to gain elo. Shadow Mewtwo, due to how absurdly frail it is in the Great League, tends to be a very unwieldy Pokemon. Now, the fact that the submitter was able to go positive with the team around veteran elo, I believe mentioned in the notes, won 10 games out of the 17 total that were played with the team, is more of an indictment of just how skilled of a battler Boom is. As I mentioned at the start, he is a battler who was the first legend in the entire world one season. So an incredibly gifted battler, and I think the video is just a really nice showcase of what you can do as you continue to hone your skills and improve. Is you can run teams that are less than perfect with some very flawed Pokemon like Shadow Mewtwo and still end up having some pretty decent results. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.